I recently made a video about Battlefield 5 in 2024, a game that has gained some popularity recently, and a Battlefield game that was the last BF game being released, having the classic class system in the game. Well, feel free to check it out later if you want to. I therefore wanted to also play Battlefield 1 once more, but this time around I'm not only talking about how the game is doing now in 2024 and if it's worth playing also in 2024. Now I stretch out a bit further than that, asking if BF1 might be the best Battlefield game of all time. You see, I've often said that BF1 and BF4 is my two favorite to go to BF games, and in many ways that is true. However, I did start to play the Battlefield franchise back in the days when Bad Company 2 was new, so that game will definitely always have a special place in my heart. BF5 that I mentioned earlier wasn't my cup of tea at launch. I didn't like it that much, to be honest, but it did improve, so I started to enjoy the game later in its life cycle. Now both BF1 and BF5 is in a situation where it's no longer getting any new updates or major support, but the games are still popular and holds pretty good numbers when it comes to people playing them. Since Battlefield 1 nowadays can be played via Steam if you're playing on PC, we can take a look at the Steam charts to get a hint how many people that are still playing the game. As you can see, there's been an increase of almost 3k players on average the last 30 days, which is nice to see. So the average player count has been close to 9k players the last 30 days, which isn't bad at all. Consider also that we're talking about a game that was released at the end of August in 2016, so it's about 8 years old now. Sure, Battlefield 5 holds the lead here when it comes to how many people that are playing the game, but Battlefield 1 has been able to keep a pretty steady player base even so. If we also take a look into active player I/O, we should be able to see how many that has been logged into Battlefield 1 across the board, meaning all together, and according to this site there's a total of almost 718k players on average when it comes to monthly players, and close to 193k players on average when it comes to daily players. So even though the numbers has gone a bit down in total compared to recent years, many players has continued to log in and play Battlefield 1. Let's get to the reasons why. After I've been playing some Battlefield 5 and some time ago also Battlefield 4, I have to say that the way that Battlefield 1 plays and looks makes a really good FPS game also in 2024. Not everyone might enjoy the World War I setting compared to World War II setting, or overall more modern warfare if you will, but DICE managed to make a game when it comes to Battlefield 1 that in its best moments is very immersive, since both the visuals and audio combined builds up this feeling of being on the battlefield. And yes, I can feel that to a certain extent in some of the other titles as well, but Battlefield 1 may be the best when it comes to deliver that full package of immersive gameplay. I also like the guns and the gunplay in Battlefield 1, although all the gas nades being thrown at you sometimes can become a bit annoying for sure. Well, then it's gas mask on for some time before the gas has been scattered. Sometimes I wish that some of my teammates would equip smoke instead than gas nades, for example, since it's very often that you get into a disadvantaged kind of a situation as an attacker on some of these maps and objective game modes if you don't cover yourself and your squad using smoke. Yes, map design has very often been a bit of an Achilles heel when it comes to Battlefield games, meaning that some of the maps don't play that well, especially when playing certain game modes. In addition to that, there's quite a skill gap between players also in the game, such as Battlefield 1, especially nowadays, so be ready to sometimes be one of the few that actually takes an initiative to advance in order to cap the objective when playing. So the team balance can shift quite some between matches, and sometimes the actual game, or maybe it was some of the moderators in the servers, didn't seem too keen to do anything about that either mid-game, in order to get a more balanced experience overall. But even so, I did have quite some fun coming back and playing the game once more. There are hackers also in BF1, something that has been a problem for sure in BF5, especially before DICE and EA decided to implement the new anti-cheat system into the game sometime in April, I believe, this year. I did a video about that. I've seen comments both saying it has become better now in that game, but also comments saying that the cheaters are back, at least some. I did encounter a cheater or two also when playing Battlefield 1, which is always a pity, of course, but it didn't seem to be a crazy amount of them at least. But please fill in here, especially if you're one of those guys that are playing BF1 on a more regular basis compared to me. There's quite a lot of player value in a game such as Battlefield 1, since you both have quite a lot of game modes to choose from when it comes to multiplayer, which I'm of course playing the most, but also a pretty cool campaign to check out as well if you're into the single player aspect of a shooter game. Often nowadays also you can get BF1 or Battlefield games overall for a pretty good price. I remember buying this premium edition that I'm playing here in the video last year on Steam for just a few bucks, since I was never able to retrieve my old Origin account where I still have some of the older Battlefield titles alongside with Battlefield 1 and some other games as well. So if you catch the game on a sale, then congratulations, it's definitely worth it. I therefore believe that Battlefield 1 will continue to be one of those Battlefield games that people continue to play also for years to come. And if DICE and EA aren't able to capture the audience also when it comes to the new Battlefield game that most likely, or hopefully maybe we should say, will be released in the fall of 2025, well, then we'll see players once more abandon ship when it comes to a new Battlefield title in order to play something that is already proven to be good and fun to play, such as Battlefield 1. So, is Battlefield 1 the best Battlefield game ever made? Well, of course, this will depend on who you're asking, and everyone is entitled to have their own opinion. But as a whole, after once again playing these OG older Battlefield titles, I have to say that Battlefield 1 is actually taking the #1 spot for me. The flow in this game, alongside with the immersive gameplay experience, reaches high on the scale, and it's therefore worth playing also 8 years later after release. But again, that's just me, and for now, maybe I change my mind later down the line, who knows. With that said, I'm of course very curious to hear what you think about Battlefield 1, what kind of experiences you have. Are you still playing the game, or did you move on? Is it something you would like to come back to when you watch the video, or is it just, okay, I've done this before, I don't want to go back, this was something I enjoyed back then, but not any longer? Fill in the comments and I will read and I will answer. Thanks also for watching the video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, it helps me out here on YouTube. And if you would like to watch more when it comes to my content, since I do go back and play older games once in a while, but also try to check out what's new in the world of FPS gaming once in a while. If it's a good game to play, I have to say, it's been a bit stale recently, but we'll see what's gonna happen later in the fall of 2024. So fingers crossed for good games coming soon. Again, take care my friends, and thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon again. Later.
Une trousse de secours pour toi.